Hi guys, I'm 40 weeks pregnant today, and that means it's my due date, and it's so exciting to be here. Basically, this is the day I've been looking forward to since I found out I was pregnant, which was the very end of January of this year. So it's been many months that I have been focused on this day, and it's just really such a surreal experience to actually be at this date because for most of my pregnancy, October 12th seemed so far away, and to be here now is, there's no words to even explain it. It's just such a crazy feeling. I don't have any labor signs or anything to make me think that I'll actually give birth to this baby today, but the due date, I've known the whole time I've been focused on this date, but I've always known that the due date is just a guesstimate, estimate. So yeah, I'm not upset that I haven't had the baby. Of course, I'd be really excited if I had the baby, but it's just, I still find it exciting to be here. So that's just absolutely crazy. And on the topic of the due date, apparently it does mean more to other people than it does to me, because I thought I dodged a bullet. Basically, watching other pregnancy vloggers, most people started mentioning somewhere between weeks 36 to 38 about how annoying it is to receive multiple messages, phone calls, questions from people asking, have you had the baby yet? And I was like, thinking I'm so lucky I don't have to deal with that in my life. Like, I don't have people that are that stupid to be that annoying. Yes, I do. And if you're somebody that's asked me that, that's the truth. I don't care if you take it harshly, because honestly, it is the stupidest question you could ask somebody who's pregnant. Have you had the baby yet? What kind of question is that? Like, obviously the answer is no. If the answer were yes, there's two possibilities. Either you would already know because I would have already told you, or if I actually had the baby and you didn't know, you're not important in my life. Like, if you had to find out by asking, you're not important to me. Like, and that is the truth. So most people who are asking, like, you would know. Especially in today's world with social media, people are generally more than happy to share on their social media that they had their baby. So, and here I am talking to YouTube, you know what I mean? Like, clearly I'm somebody who, it'll be on my Facebook, it'll be on my Instagram. Like, there's no need to ask. And the thing is obviously the people who are really close to me in my life will find out before that even happens, but that's the whole point. Like, you'll know. Why would you ask? But yeah, so that's actually popped up this past week, and I feel like it's only going to get worse. I'm not someone to hold my tongue, so when people ask me that question, like, I'll give curt responses back. Like, I don't care. I'm a blunt person. That's just how I've always been. Love me or hate me, but, I'm not going to skirt around that question. Like, if you ask me that question, I'm going to tell you you're stupid. So if you're watching this before you ask me that question, don't ask me that question. It's stupid. So, I would have had a midwife's appointment this week, except basically I saw my midwife last week, and we both discussed it, that neither of us thought it was very important for me to come this week. And so basically my next midwife's appointment is scheduled for next week, which would be 41 weeks. It'll actually be 41 weeks in one day, so I'll be 8 days past my due date. And, maybe I won't make it to that appointment because maybe I'll have the baby before that appointment comes. But my reasoning for just not having the appointment this week was basically that, my appointments have been very normal. Nothing amazing, it's good to have a normal appointment where there's nothing crazy coming up. My blood pressure has always been not just like acceptable, like it's always been really good. So there's no reason to believe that this week specifically my blood pressure is suddenly going to be through the roof, because it's consistently been really good. You know, I've never had any sugar or any protein come up in my urine at all throughout my pregnancy. So that's pretty much all they do at this point. I mean, they check the baby's heartbeat. I'm still getting really good movements from the baby throughout the day. So there's no reason for me to worry about it. Obviously, if I didn't feel any movements, I would call the labor and delivery ward at the hospital to, check in on that. But otherwise, to me, going to a midwife's appointment this week was there was no reason for it, for just, how I've been approaching my pregnancy. There's been no need. The thing that would normally come up at a 40-week appointment would be that's when they would offer you a membrane sweep in this country, and I would refuse that anyway. And my midwife is very familiar with me, and she had the feeling that I wouldn't want one, so she brought it up last week, that she was like, well, generally the 40-week appointment is when we offer the membrane sweep, so if you wanted to come in and have that, I could make the appointment, but otherwise there was kind of no point in me going in. So I'm happy to wait for 41 weeks, because basically what I'd said to her was, unless you think that there's a reason I should come in at 40 weeks, like, I'm happy to come in at 41 weeks, because in my eyes, I'm either going to have the baby or I'm not. And I would want to go in at 41 weeks just to, not so much for the normal checks that they do, but I think that is when we'd probably discuss what would happen if the baby actually went post-date, which would be past 42 weeks, which I'm comfortable with, but I don't know yet at this point in time. Like, I'm not fully completely sure how they would handle it, as far as how often they would want to check on me and baby, just to make sure that things are still going fine. Because even though I'm comfortable going past 42 weeks, I don't mind getting to 43 weeks or even past that if it was really necessary. I do recognize that there are risks associated with it, and I would still want like the extra monitoring that they'd be willing to give me. So that's that. I have had this past week swelling really coming up. I have this issue where my left foot specifically, like really, my right foot like very minimally, but my left foot has been getting really swollen, and my ankle has been getting swollen when I sit down. So it's not from standing around on my feet all day. It took me a few days to realize that it was happening when I was sitting down, because well, first of all, I know it's from when I sit down, because basically I sit down, and if I'm sitting down for about 20 minutes, it just starts to balloon out. Whereas once I stand up and I walk around, it actually goes back down rather quickly, which is good, because at least I know how to get rid of it. But it took me a few days to figure that out, because normally, I'm wearing socks. I've especially been wearing a lot of leggings. So anything that's binding around my ankle or my feet was trapping the fluids into my foot. So basically my veins my blood was pushing out extra water and storing it into my tissues. And because I'd have either leggings on or socks on that would bind, they'd give a spot that it would bind once I became swollen, the water wasn't able to come back out when I would be walking around. So I wasn't noticing exactly when the swelling started, and when I was walking around, it wasn't going away. And then I did a little bit of, research on the internet about swelling in general, and I think I'd come across something that had mentioned that, if you sit down a lot, then try walking. If you walk a lot, try sitting. And I guess, maybe it sounds naive or whatever, but I'd never known that you could swell from sitting down. So I just assumed originally that I was getting swollen feet from being on my feet a lot, because I do tend to be on my feet a lot. And that was the assumption that I made. I didn't realize that the swelling was actually happening when I was sitting. So after I'd read that, I'd thought about, oh, well, maybe like let me pay closer attention to my feet. So that was why I like took my socks off and stuff, and I started not wearing socks just to be able to like really like look at my feet more. And that was actually when I realized that when I was standing, the swelling would go away. When I was sitting, it would come right back up. So, and basically that just happens. It has to do with the baby's positioning. So when I'm sitting down specifically, it happens to be cutting off the blood supply. So my circulation in my left leg, particularly because the baby's mostly on the left-hand side, is not working as well as it should because the baby's putting pressure on me in some way that the return flow to the heart is not as fast as it needs to be. So walking fixes that, which is good. Which, speaking of walking, I did go to the VegFest in London yesterday, and I was on my feet for many, many hours, and I was completely fine. I felt great. You know, I had loads of people ask me like, oh, when are you due? Because obviously I am huge at this point. And, you know, lots of them were extremely surprised when I was like, oh, I'm actually due tomorrow, because, you know, I was just out and about and around, because as far as I'm concerned, an object in motion stays in motion. So I'm going to keep it moving because I can. And why would I stop just because I'm expecting a baby? That's at least, you know, that's how I feel. The VegFest was great. I did not get the donuts that I think I probably spent like 5 minutes talking about donuts last week. I didn't get the donuts because they weren't there this year, which was sad. But I had plenty of other junk food that was all delicious, so I wasn't actually missing the donuts, because, you know, you fill yourself up with something else, and that's how eating works, you know. Best way to get rid of a craving is to fill yourself up with something else, right? Because once you're full, you don't really crave anymore. So yeah, I had plenty of junk stuff yesterday that, you know, and we brought some home with us as well. So I have some junk for the week to come, which maybe baby will stay inside of me for that, because it's probably thinking, this is yummy. Like, I don't want to leave yet, because once it comes out, it's not eating that anymore. So, you know, we'll see. Yeah, so VegFest was great. And actually the funny thing is my husband and the friend that we went down with a friend as well, they were tired, like, and wanted to sit down well before I did. Yeah, and actually when I did ask to leave, because we left earlier, like it closed at like 5, but we left I think around 1 or 1:30. I don't remember exactly when we left because I didn't look at the clock, but basically when we left, it was only because I would have been happy to stay longer, except it was so crowded and like it was just overwhelming. People were knocking into me everywhere. I was like literally walking around like covering my bump at times, because like I was just like paranoid that somebody was going to bash into my bump, because I had people knocking into me constantly, and like, you know, people are rude. They don't even say excuse me or, oh, I'm sorry. You know, they're just like, let me just shovel past you. And it's like, rude. People are so rude. Yeah, so I was happy to go because it was just getting busier and busier and busier as the day progressed. So yeah, that was the only reason we left. But, you know, we were there for quite a few hours, and then, you know, we walked there from a different, you know, like from where we parked, it was like a good 20-minute walk, and, you know, I was fine. So that was great. And, you know, when I came home, husband sat down and was like, I kept doing work in the house because there's always stuff to do. Yeah, so I'm still feeling really good energy-wise. The swelling in the feet is more of an annoying thing, but it doesn't actually affect how I feel, so that's not a bad thing. But I will say, going with swelling, I wanted to talk a little bit about body confidence, specifically in pregnancy, because obviously this is a pregnancy vlog. And basically because I've noticed a lot of people who do these vlogs towards the end of their pregnancy, like, start to feel very large. They can't wait to get rid of the baby and get their body back. You know, and the way things are worded, it's kind of like you can tell a lot of people are not so happy with how they look and feel at this point in their pregnancy. And, you know, the honest truth is for me, like, I feel beautiful. I feel attractive. I love my bump. I've got an inflated ego. Like, I might just be like a hot air balloon and totally fly away, basically. And I think for me, that has a lot to do with my husband. Of course, obviously, your self-image and how you view yourself, a lot of that comes from within, of course. But especially when you're at your absolute largest, like bigger than you've ever been before. Well, most pregnant women will obviously be bigger than they've ever been before, but that's of course not always true. But regardless, you're hormonal, you're emotional, you're huge, and you know, this is a time when of course you're going to be more touchy maybe about your appearance. It's really nice to have a partner that is complimentary towards you. So for any partners out there that are watching this, this is what you can do. Like, be complimentary towards your partner. And my husband has been like this throughout our entire relationship, but it's especially been really helpful now that I am so large. And some people might look at me and not think I'm large at all. And don't get me, like, when I say that I'm so big, like, I just mean in comparison to what I normally am. Like I said, I think I look good. Like, I don't care. But like, if you went back, like, I have videos on YouTube from, you know, when we were honeymooning in Thailand. And that was just over 2 years ago now. And I was a lot smaller then. I was not that small when I got pregnant. When I conceived, I was larger already, but I wasn't this big. But, you know, my point is my husband has seen me at all different sizes, and he's consistently, constantly complimented me, made me feel attractive, let me know that he's attracted to me, wanted me, desired me, you know, all the time, like every day, throughout the day, just always. Like, you know, he tells me in different ways as well. It's not just like he's like, oh, you look good, like it's as if, you know, it was an afterthought. No, like, it's constant. It's, you know, whether it's just calling me beautiful, you know, making an appreciative noise when my butt is wagging in his face or something, you know, touching me, cuddling me, you know, like just being like, you wear pregnancy so well, you make pregnancy look so easy, like, you know, just constantly reminding me that I am beautiful to him. It really helps with just feeling secure in your relationship, and that is especially important when you're hormonal and vulnerable and pregnant. Like, you want to feel very secure in your relationship at that point in time because your lives are about to change. So if you're a partner and you're watching this to a pregnant woman, like, compliment her, let her know why you're with her, like, remind her, you know, don't keep it to yourself, like, share that, because this is a time when it can be really important. And I think that's why I've been, you know, to me, how supportive and amazing my husband has been throughout my pregnancy is, of course, a huge factor into why I've been able to feel really good throughout my pregnancy, like, about myself, and have been able to stay really positive. Because, yeah, a lot of that comes from yourself, a lot of it comes internally, but it's always nice to have somebody else there that's going to support you. And you know what? It's always nice to have anybody give you a compliment. Like, you know, your friends can tell you you're beautiful, or that's always nice, but it's never going to have that same impact as, like, the person that you care about more than anybody else in this world at this moment. Because when I'm about to have a baby, I think his life is going to shatter just a little bit, because, you know, suddenly we're going to have somebody new in this world that means at least as much to me as my husband does. It's hard to, of course I'm going to love my baby more than anything, but at the same time, like, I love my husband more than anything. It'll just be in a different way. But number one's going to have to learn how to be put to the side a little bit when baby comes, and that'll be interesting to see. But it's been really nice to have really great support throughout my pregnancy. So when it comes to body confidence and everything, you know what, like, seriously, I say to any partners that might happen to be watching this, like, if you're just trying to understand your significant other's pregnancy, or, you know what, even if you are the pregnant person watching this, just tell your freaking, like, if your other half has not been complimenting you or making you feel good about that yourself, like, you tell them, like, let them know so they can fix that problem, because it really makes a huge difference in just how great you feel during your pregnancy. And I am a very lucky, lucky woman. Yeah, so that being said, I'm gonna show off my body confidence and show you my beautiful belly, because I love it. And this is my 40-week bump. And you know what, the most important thing is I might have an inflated ego about my bump, but I don't think there's anything special about it either. Like, I think lots of mamas out there have beautiful, beautiful bumps, and they should feel just as confident about them. So this is my baby. This is my baby from the side. And it looks different from, to me, like, one side looks different from the other, just because obviously babies, you know, it's on one side, so it's just shaped differently. But that is my full term due date bump, and I love it. That's it. So maybe I'll see you guys next week with another update. Maybe I'll have a baby. I have no idea. So otherwise, I'm just gonna say bye, and we'll see what happens. So have a good week, everybody. Bye. Thank you.